Payday 3 has just come out, and with it, a slew of new additions and changes have been made to the gameplay compared to Payday 2. The area that's changed the most though has got to be stealth. I'll be honest, I wasn't a huge fan of stealth in 2, as it boiled down to just moving incredibly fast and avoiding line of sight, but the way that stealth is changed in 3 is a very welcome breath of fresh air. However, it's a little bit challenging to get used to, especially if you spent a lot of time doing stealth in 2, so I've made this video as a beginner's guide of sorts to stealth for people who want to learn Payday 3 stealth, or just want to brush up on some tips and tricks. Before I start to get into the guide though, I do want to mention that I made this video on launch week, so if you're watching this in like a few months or so, there might be things I've changed, removed, or even added. There's quite a lot to go over, so I'll start by going over easily the biggest change: Maskless Stealth. In Payday 2, there wasn't really much you could do without putting your mask on. You could pick up keycards and other items, use keycards, but generally, if you wanted to get anything done, you'd have to get your mask on. But now, you can do so much more without ever even putting your mask on. You can practically do anything without putting your mask on, par for controlling civilians, parkour, and killing guards of course. If you're thinking to yourself, wow, that sounds incredibly powerful, that's because you're right. It is very powerful. You can get a ton of objectives done way more easily than you could if you were masked up, as you get detected at a slower rate, and if you get detected in a private area, you won't have to kill the guard who spots you, or cry if it's a camera, because you'll just get escorted out by a guard if you don't have your mask on. Some heists are even entirely completable without ever putting your mask on, such as No Rest for the Wicked and Golden Shark. Speaking of, different areas in the heist now fall into 3 different categories: public, private, and secure. Public areas are pretty self-explanatory. They're areas which anyone can access, such as the front of a bank. In public areas, guards and cameras won't get suspicious of you, unless you do something suspicious like lockpicking. Private areas are areas which only certain people should be able to access, such as officers. In private areas, guards and cameras will get suspicious of you as well as civilians, but civilians will only get suspicious of you if you do something suspicious. Secure areas are areas which nobody should be able to be in, except for security guards, such as vaults, rooftops, and certain offices. Similarly to private areas, cameras and guards will get suspicious of you, but something interesting is that guards will make note of suspicious noises, such as running and jumping, and making too much noise will prompt them to go investigate where the noise came from. Detection now works a lot better. Guards don't really have eyes in the back of their heads anymore, and the rate of getting detected feels a lot more reasonable. You're also not really able to sprint in stealth unless the coast is completely clear, as you get spotted quite quickly if you're running, so it's best to stay crouched most of the time. As to be expected with an entirely new game, a lot of skills in Payday 3 are completely brand new and different to the skills in 2, and can be a little daunting at first if you're wanting to tackle stealth. If you're wanting to get a start in stealth, a very powerful skill I'd recommend to start with would be Grifter. With Grifter, if you're maskless and within 1 meter of a civilian or employee, you'll gain Rush. Rush isn't too powerful on its own, only being a 10% movement speed increase for 20 seconds, but what it opens up with the addition of the Rush buff is incredibly powerful. Walk the talk and social engineering are incredibly powerful for maskless stealth, for as long as you have Rush, you'll be ignored by cameras unless you're committing an illegal action, and just ignored by employees when you commit illegal actions. It's very strong for maskless stealth and maps with a lot of civilians. Infiltrator is also a pretty good skill, as in its base version, whenever you successfully pick a lock or kill an enemy with a throwing knife, you will either gain or refresh your Rush. The Infiltrator tree opens up to another pretty useful skill too, Quick Fingers. As if you have Rush active, a successful lockpick jiggle will instantly finish a lockpick interaction, which can be incredibly useful for moving more quickly on maps with a lot of locked doors or deposit boxes. One of the coolest trees for sure though is the Hacker tree. With the Hacker skill, you're able to hack into cameras and access the rest of the cameras in the system through it, and gain runtimes, which are used in later skills. The really cool skill in this tree has got to be Secure Loop, as with the skill you're able to activate a camera loop to make you practically invisible to the camera and uses up a runtime, which will last forever, unless the heist is a modifier that makes runtimes last for a specific amount of time. If you can't tell why that's incredibly powerful, let me just quickly explain. Some close quarters maps, like Touch the Sky, are incredibly rough at times with their camera positions, so being able to disable any 2 cameras at any given time can make your life a lot easier. It also lets you avoid having to kill the camera operator on maps to disable the cameras, which is especially useful on Overkill with its limited pager amount, letting you save your pager answers for more valuable guards. The rest of the tree does have some pretty powerful skills, but if you're just starting out and are low on points, I'd recommend just sticking to Hacker Ace for the increased runtimes and Secure Loop for disabling cameras. I mentioned earlier about stealth modifiers, which is a unique addition added to make stealth more challenging on higher difficulties. It's a very welcome addition in my books, because Payday 2 wasn't really too good at making stealth too challenging once you bumped up the difficulty. They tried with the Mayhem Plus changes, with tightened cameras and safes, but aside from that, there's practically no difference between playing Mayhem and playing Death Sentence. The modifiers are different for each map, with some having less modifiers than others. The modifiers are intended to make stealth more challenging in different ways, such as adding a lead guard, who whenever you kill, will have their pager infinitely going off. It's not enough to give you an instant fail, but if you kill him, you'll have to answer the pagers each time and use up the pager limit, and you'll basically just be forced to finish the heist in search mode. Indestructible cameras, so you can't just avoid cameras by shooting them down, and runtime time limits, practically forcing you out to being able to hack cameras. It's a nice addition, as it isn't just a flat modifier of every heist giving more guards and indestructible cameras like Payday 2 did, but is more specifically catered towards each heist and how it plays. Also, I mentioned search mode but didn't really talk about it. Basically, if a guard catches something suspicious like a bag out in the open, or you answer a pager after you've used up all the pagers you're able to answer, the heist will go into search mode. During this, guards will be a lot more proactive in their patrols and check areas they might not have previously checked, as well as follow similar logic to guards in secure areas, and will pay attention to sound made. It's an interesting addition, as it isn't just a flat need for a restart, but definitely makes your life a lot more painful if it happens. If you're going to play stealth for the first time though, be sure to use the Signature 40 and suppress it, as the suppressor is available instantly for free. Concealment and detection risk also aren't a thing anymore. You can use any weapon you want with any armor you want, and it won't affect how quickly guards, cameras and civilians detect you. It's a very welcome addition in my opinion, making pseudo-stealth a much more viable playstyle. With how weapon leveling works too, it's also worth noting that you can put a weapon in your primary or secondary slot and just never use it throughout the heist, and still level up, getting modifications and attachments. I think that just about covers it though. I'm hoping to spend the rest of next week getting more time playing Payday 3, maybe make some build videos, maybe make a tip for each heist video once I learn every heist inside out. As usual, if you've enjoyed the video, please do like and subscribe. It does help out a ton in the algorithm and lets more people see the video. I've been Cookie Dough, and have a good one.